Kemi Olawoye. She's a physiotherapist. She's a broadcast journalist and PR specialist. She's the author of Health CEO Bora Communications. Kemi, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
And then I also have some members of the Postpartum Support Network Africa. And I have Titi Lokbe Abiade Tito. So I have Goodness Amaka Michael. Goodness, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Now, Goodness, I understand you're a filmmaker, you're a communications lead at Postpartum Support Network Africa, and your organization is set up to raise awareness and provide support to pregnant and newborn mothers on postpartum depression. So, how did you get involved in this?
Basically, I got a job with them. But maternal health has been an area I've been interested in for a very long time. So I'm privileged to work for PSN Africa.
Yes, when we talk about maternal health, and I want to talk to Kemi, when we talk about maternal health, it does look as if everybody has an idea, but people don't quite have the right ideas. Now, postpartum means after birth, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Why would we associate a situation in which you give birth to a child, probably happily, to depression?
I think that postpartum depression would be reality. It's unfortunately reality in our society. I've also found that in recent times there's been a rise in the amount of women who are beginning to have postpartum depression. I also think that postpartum depression has been something that's been existing for way longer than we thought. But just that in recent times, we have now been able to put a name to it and say, oh, this is actually postpartum depression. In old times, you see that some women, yes, we know that it's something to be happy about. Not in all cases, though. I remember that just before we came on air, she was sharing with the producer of the show how that someone who probably has financial issues, prior to giving birth to the baby. It feels like something that should be exciting, but in that case, it will not be exciting. There are many factors to look at, which I'm sure that she would, share during the course of the show. But I think, a long story short, it has been something that has been existing for quite some time. But in recent times, we're now able to put a name to it and say, oh, this is actually postpartum depression. Women are actually going through this. I remember that the first time that I really heard of postpartum depression, aside uni, was a very popular person, Tara Durotoye, when she shared that she had postpartum depression. And even what actually happened in her case was she had her first child outside the country, outside the shores of Nigeria, which you would think is so exciting. At least you went to Bodo Yibo, your first child is a citizen of the America and everything. And then she had postpartum depression. And one of the factors that she shared that contributed to her postpartum depression was the fact that she didn't have family around. When you travel, you might not necessarily be able to take care of your mom, your everything at the time. And she said that never would she have any child outside the shores of Nigeria, that she would remain in Nigeria, because she realized that having a family around, a husband and everyone would really help her. So postpartum depression is not a respecter of persons.
Well, that's interesting. I do know that in those days, when a woman gives birth to a child, she's surrounded by neighbors, and she wasn't allowed to do anything. So she would just breastfeed then, although they added water, it wasn't really exclusive. But it was better than just giving cow milk, right? So they were surrounded by people. And I want to ask you, Goodness, if they were surrounded by people, that reduced stress, right? Even when the husband is not physically present to contribute towards the process of breastfeeding, she had women who either cooked for her, who massaged her tummy, who took care of baby, who bathed the baby, and so on and so forth. So, and tried to massage the baby here and there, which you young ladies don't do these days. So, what do you think then is wrong with the society?
That isolation is a problem. Like she pointed out, Mrs. Durotoye felt alone, and that's a risk factor for postpartum depression. And it's very prominent with women who are in the urban setting, because we are all alone. We live in flats, we live in duplexes, we don't like stress, we don't want anybody, intruding our space. We go abroad to give birth, we come back, we hide it, we hide pregnancies, we don't want to tell anybody we're having any babies. I mean, people who lived in communities, you couldn't hide those kinds of things. The children born were children of everybody had the child, everybody raised the child, everybody was invested in that child's welfare. And so the communal living helped a woman gain support, even if money wasn't really there at that time. But right now you have a lot of people who are very individualistic, and the society isn't paying enough attention. And when these women go to the hospitals for their antenatal or postnatal clinics, where they're supposed to hear things about postpartum depression and say, if you're feeling this certain way, this is probably what is wrong with you. You need to see a psychologist, you need to be screened, you need to go for therapy, you need to join a group so you can talk about this group of mothers who are going through the same thing. You need to do that. They're not getting that information. So they're having these problems. Their husbands probably don't understand what's going on with them, thinking they're just acting out simply because they got
Yeah, I don't
pregnant.
think they do.
No, they're absolutely not acting out. But that's why this forum is very important, so that people get to know, husbands know, mothers know, mother-in-laws know, the women themselves know that this is something that's probably going on with them, so they can get support.
But Box and calling belly. Wasn't a belly bump or what when you guys are pregnant?
Pregnancy shoot?
Yes, when you people are
Maternity
pregnant.
shoot.
When you people are pregnant, especially superstars like you expose your tummies and the world will get excited, but you wouldn't want to breastfeed. And then breastfeeding has a lot to do with the bonding between the infant and the mother. Now, if you don't breastfeed and then you claim to be psychedelic, why won't you be depressed when things go wrong?
I don't think that there's there might be some direct cause, but those are not the contributing factors to postpartum depression. Like she said, isolation is a major issue when it comes to postpartum. Financial issues, it's a big issue, especially in this part of the world. If we're seeing, people get depressed after. I remember a video that went viral. I think BBC that interviewed a woman, and she shared that prior to that particular child, the child she had before died, and then she had that particular child. So those ones are just those are societal, those are things that Instagram, Twitter, all those are things that are, because those ones are not but financial.
Yeah, but they're
issues,
contributory because people literally live on the social media now, don't they?
well, unfortunately, those are the times that we are. Let's not also forget that social media is also a great tool, in as much as it's a.
We do agree. The founders of social media told us in the early 90s that this tool will either make you or mar you, and then, but a lot of people allow it to mar them. But then let me quickly get back to goodness to you, like Kemi also mentioned about the issue of finance. Now, there are a lot of lies going on now, people being, telling us what they are not or who they are not because of what they will get out of marriages. And then they get pregnant, and upon giving birth to the infant, then they find out that the money isn't there or the social status isn't there, and then they get depressed. And like she said, they get excited to go and give birth abroad, so the children will come from foreign countries. Well, that's the issue of, for government, not this program. So let's look at how we perceive relationships that eventually lead to pregnancies and delivery to postpartum depression.
That's a very interesting question. Human being social, very relational, and like it or not, some women, emphasis parenthesis on some, view marriage as a poverty alleviation program for themselves or for their families, depending on what their realities or their status are. There are certain expectations that come with marriage or with relationships, and unfortunately, babies are expensive. No matter how low you want to live, once you have a child, it somehow drastically reduces your standard of living, except you find a way to increase your income. So if they are not working and they are in a relationship with a man who isn't working or doesn't have the ability to provide enough, that is a major stressor on the relationship for the man and for the woman. And then you have issues of domestic violence coming up as a result of the frustrations that money can cause or lack of money can cause. So the woman has a baby. She's not probably eating well. She's not feeding the baby well. The baby is yelling. Her sleeping patterns have been distorted. She's not eating well. She doesn't have social support, probably because she went against the wishes of her family to marry the guy. And so she's cut off. She's alone. And then it turns out he doesn't have. And he pours or vents his anger on her. That is a cocktail for postpartum depression.
Yes, okay. We also have, Kemi, come here. We have a lot of single motherhood, single fatherhood. I guess yes, baby mama or something. And then they're celebrating these things these days. Don't these lead to postpartum depression as well if the lady gives birth?
Absolutely. Well, in some cases, I think it just also depends on the emotional strength of the person. It depends on how you're able to cope. In some cases, it leads to emotional depression. We've had a lot of people share on social media how that they were depressed, they were that. But the idea really is that there's no one specific cause. Even in some cases where things are perfect, they married, they had a big wedding, they had everything perfect, money. And then just imagine someone like Tara Duruturi having postpartum depression. I was surprised, so there's not really one specific cause. It's just like just different things. There are even hormonal issues, that happen because the woman has just put to bed. So there are like different things that can happen, and there is no one.
All right, you can join us on this program by calling in on 0806 7599401, 0806 7599401. Sorry. You can also please call 0906 0003352. 0906. To you, good news. Now, when you have a network that deals with women who have postpartum depression. So when this happens, we have a caller here. We have a caller here. Hey, hello. Yeah, please keep your radio out of this matter. Yes, keep your radio out of this discussion entirely. Yeah, turn down the volume of your radio set. Yes, hello, I can hear you. I can hear you, yes. Hello? Okay, we lost that. I guess we lost that. Yes. I was trying to, make allusion to your organization, and then you were able to get across to some people who have had postpartum depression, some ladies who have had postpartum depression. How do you refer them to the hospitals, hospices, or clinics?
Okay, so Postpartum was founded in 2015 by Onyedikachi Ikorike. He's a clinical psychologist, and it was set up to provide awareness and support to pregnant and new moms that may be going through postpartum depression. So what we do essentially is to visit hospitals, clinics, antenatal and postnatal clinics, and talk to mothers and educate them, and also screen them for postpartum depression. A lot of the times it starts from pregnancy, and then it's full-blown when the woman has given birth. Some don't have any problem when they're pregnant, and then it shows forth when they're already nursing their baby and all. So whatever point in time they are at, we want to reach out to them, and we usually do. So we a non-profit, essentially funded by grants, and at this moment we've run 3 cycles with Axe Foundation, and they have.
All right, just let me also tell our viewers, the listeners, they can call us on 0807 221 4389, and that's on WhatsApp. That when these women suffer from postpartum depression, more often than not, the infants suffer. All right, and then in situations like that, families, are separated, and then these children grow up like that, and then of course they become area boys, area girls, and so on and so forth. And then, so don't you think that we're not doing enough to publicize the issue of postpartum depression, and that society is actually sliding further into depression itself?
I think that thankfully we have a forum like this that we're talking about, and I'm very positive that we have millions of listeners who are probably listening to this at this time. Now, first thing I'd like to say is that the infants don't even have to grow up to that point where they become area boys and area girls. And postpartum depression is is something that can be, dealt with. The first step is that, like you said, we're covering this thing up as a society. And I think that is even beyond postpartum depression. It's just how we are. It's our health-seeking behaviors as a country, as Nigerians. We're not meant to, they don't want to admit that we have malaria, you want to be strong and all of that. So that's like cultural issues that has to do with us as, as a society, as a country and everything. So the first thing is that we should not deny in any case where a woman experiences symptoms and she feels like she's feeling somehow. I remember clearly that I also listened to, I don't know if you know the real, it's an international show, and there's this the twins, Tia and Tamara Murray, the very popular twins. And the lady, Tamara, actually had postpartum depression while she was on the real show. So the first thing for me for postpartum depression is that once you notice that you're beginning to have some form of symptoms, you're not happy, you just had a child, you're not happy, and there's symptoms that you suspect.
Yes, I think we have a caller. Hello? 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 Please turn down the volume of your radio set. Okay. Great. So what's your question first? Please turn down the volume of your radio set.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but your radio set is interfering. Hello? Okay, sorry. Yes, you were talking.
Yes, I think that the first thing is really to identify that if peradventure you find yourself in that point where you're experiencing such symptoms, you need to report to the hospital. It's a long story cut short. You find yourself in that position, report to the hospital, speak to your doctor, speak to your gynecologist. These are the symptoms that I'm experiencing. What can I do? And then they will advise you on the next steps to take. Same also goes for the partner, for the spouse, for women who have partners. If you find that your wife is experiencing or feeling some sort of way and you suspect, it doesn't always mean that it will be postpartum depression, but what it means that you're even just presenting with a complaint, sharing it with the healthcare provider, and then they can take necessary steps. Now, if you also find that you have a friend, a relation, someone that you've probably gone to grief for, maybe, or for even a mugo, and you find the person also feeling some sort of way, acting in some funny way, feeling depressed, acting depressed, ensure that you encourage such person to report to the healthcare provider. And my final word would be that it's also a call to healthcare institutions. She rightly mentioned that a lot of hospitals don't talk about this to women during antenatal, and it's so unfortunate because that's the first point of call. That's where women should hear about this. So it's also a call to all our healthcare providers, all our healthcare institutions, that when a woman is pregnant and she comes for antenatal clinics, you need to talk to her about postpartum depression. It's not a God forbid issue; it is happening.
Thank you, Kemi. Well put. Goodness, let's quickly, just before we take it home, talk about the antenatal clinics.
Yeah.
Because you have to talk about ante before you talk about post. Don't you think that the way we carry out antenatals should be reviewed to include most of it? Because a whole lot of things are not really included in the antenatals, and then these women, don't forget that a lot of them don't attend, so a lot of them hear what was said from other women, so just let's quickly round it off that way, right?
Okay. So antenatal clinics and postnatal clinics are very important. Like she said, they are the first point of call. From when a woman gets pregnant, she registers, oh, you've tested positive, she comes in close contact with the hospital and most especially the nurses, which is why at PSN Africa we run the nursing with emotional intelligence trainings for the nurses in the hospitals that we visit, so that they are equipped with the right skills to talk to these mothers and not just tell them the usual thing they say, which is go, clap your hands, sing, dance, exercise, take your medication, talk about breastfeeding, exclusive breastfeeding. I mean, those things are extremely important, but I think that the government needs to come in play to review our health policy. Wellness and health is not just the absence of diseases physically, it's also a mental wellness, is physical, is emotional, to make sure that the entire human body functions at optimal level.
Thank you very much. I wish to thank Kemi Olawoye is a physiotherapist, a broadcast journalist here, and Health Extra on Rhythm Radio and then Silver TV. Kemi, thank you for coming and program today. And then I'll also thank members of the Postpartum Support Network Africa.